What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Speak Up Sports Podcast with Casper Shashad. What's going on, fellas?
Good, y'all.
What's good? What's good?
What is good? We are officially into the first real week of preseason with all 32 teams kicking off and having a preseason game. Their first preseason game this week. Obviously, we had the Hall of Fame game last week, as well as the Hall of Fame enshrinement. Getting to see guys like Jared Allen, obviously Sterling Sharp, Antonio Gates, and amongst others getting to the Hall of Fame was pretty cool. But we are officially into the football season. With my team actually being the first game to kick us off tomorrow. But with preseason starting, and obviously there's been we've obviously all seen videos and stuff like that, been reading about different training camps and stuff like that. Who are some guys that you guys are looking forward to kind of seeing in not in training camp, but kind of seeing in preseason, in either young guys, maybe guys that you think might take another step? Who are some guys that you guys are looking forward to possibly getting some preseason action and seeing what they can do?
I mean, I say the biggest person you might want to see, probably Shedeur Sanders. I mean, obviously the I guess you could call it drama or whatever around, just his draft status and whatnot, and just the overall aspect of Cleveland's quarterback situation. You got injuries and you got influx. You got two people you decided to draft at quarterback. It's gonna be an interesting situation. So I mean, I'm interested to see how he, handle the situation. I don't expect much in general because again, he's playing with the backups. I mean, you can't. Sometimes you got to take that stuff with a grain of salt. But I mean, if he can, make some plays out while he's out there, then that'll show everybody, he can play. It ain't just no hoorah or none of this other stuff that they trying to put on his name or whatnot. He can play. So I'm interested to see him. Go out there and show what he could do. I mean, he didn't play from my school, Jackson State, so I done seen him play. I know he could play, but we'll see.
I'm gonna stick with that same kind of realm. I'm gonna go with Cam Ward. Report came out that Brian's gonna play him and most of the starters, at least all three games. We don't know how much. But again, we're also going to the joint practices they have next week with the Falcons as well. So I'm excited to see Cam Ward and what he can kind of put forward this offseason and how quickly he can get accustomed to the NFL game and get that going, because you have Calvin Ridley, who still is a nice receiver even at the age of 30, really nice receiver. You got some guys that they drafted, so it'll be interesting to see how that kind of offense comes together. Because I do think Brian Callahan is in a way coaching for his job, even though he just selected the first his guy, his quarterback. So I'm excited to see Cam Ward.
Yeah, I guess I'll make it 3 for 3. I'm also sticking with a quarterback, and I'm going with Justin Fields. I'm interested to see, respectfully, he really probably hasn't done anything to really warrant a starting spot just given to him, like kind of how the New York Jets did, obviously signing him this past offseason.
With no threat.
Obviously he played well with the Steelers last year through a few games, but they benched him for Russell Wilson, who wasn't great. Obviously they did go on a run those first few weeks, but we saw the offense hit a hard limit towards the end of the season. So I'm really interested, especially given some of the reports that have come out about training camp from the Jets and how the offenses looked, how it's not only are we talking inaccuracies, but procedural penalties with the offense, a lot of false starts has been something that I've seen. So just kind of seeing how he matures into what they're hoping to be a franchise quarterback, I would like to see. And then obviously there's been a lot of talk about him reuniting with his college receiver in Garrett Wilson. Obviously he just got a new contract, so just kind of seeing how the whole everything kind of plays out, starting with Justin Fields, but ultimately the Jets in total, but just kind of really with Justin Fields. Because there's also been a lot of, Aaron Glenn did take some shots at Aaron Rodgers in a sense, when on his way out. There's been a lot of Jets fans that have been, there's obviously the Jets and the Steelers play week 1, so a lot of people are kind of looking forward to that because it's both teams kind of quote unquote gave up on those quarterbacks and seeing them go head to head. But there's been a lot of talk about like how the last regime was, how Aaron Rodgers was. So, we'll see if Justin Fields is able to kind of right that ship and restart his career into what people thought he could possibly be. So I'm excited to see kind of what he does, and maybe they may end up making another trade for a receiver or something if he does end up playing well. You guys got anybody on the defensive side that you're looking forward to as well?
I would like to see Abdul Carter in action. I don't know how much action he gets in his preseason, but all the reports coming out of Giants camp is that he's dominating that O-line. Is it the O-line? Is it him? Is it somewhere probably in the middle? But I would hope that he gets some action, especially being, the touted rookie. You still have, other pieces there. So, I don't think it's a huge risk, but, by playing him. So I would like to see him go, and I would like to see him kind of, get that run against at least second team, if not first team, offensive lineman group. So I'll be going.
Okay. I'm gonna stick with my team. I want to see Jahai Campbell. All the reports first of all, he wasn't supposed to be in training camp. The supposed reports was he wasn't supposed to be in training camp till maybe the end of August, but the fact that he was there to start training camp is a good sign. And since they got the pass on me, just a lot of different reports coming out. He's just flying around the ball. He's active. He's laying hard hits on players and shit. So I want to see it in action. You could. We already talked about it. You got some reporters say one thing, other reporters say other thing. It's always conflicting reports, so you can't really know unless you're there. So I would like to see that.
Yeah, that's been a little interesting. It's and sometimes there definitely been some conflicting reports, but there are some that are just like, like, what? How is this and this adding up? Like,
Right.
It just doesn't really make sense. But I have seen some stuff people have been talking about him. Obviously, a lot of the conversation with him was not only his ability as an off-ball linebacker, but his possible ability as an edge rusher. So I know Vic Fangio came out and said that he's really not an edge rusher at all, but I am interested to see if he actually utilizes him on that front. So I do agree with you there. But honestly, I don't know if he's gonna play, and obviously I don't think he's gonna be full time defensively. But I am interested to see what they do with Travis Hunter. Obviously, he's one of the most polarizing figures over the past couple of years, obviously in college football, and then with him possibly playing both sides, and it seems like that's exactly what's happening. It has been happening in practice. One day he's been offense, one day he's been defense. I think their head coach came out and said that he's probably going to be like 80% on offense. So I do think that he's probably going to be a little bit more part-time on defense. But I'm interested to see if they do kind of lean more so on one side during the preseason as opposed to the others, because it sounds like he can't be guarded offensively. It sounds like based on the videos and everything, he's been cooking them offensively. So I don't even know if they even gonna really play around with it, because I think he could be. I think he's gonna be special whichever position he decides to fully go with, or if he decides to do both, I think he'll be special doing that as well. But that is something that I'm very interested to kind of see if they do it in the preseason, just to kind of get a taste of it, like how they're going to manage it through the games, how many snaps he plays on both sides. So that's something I'm really interested in. And I'm going to add another one just because I don't know if he's going to play, because of the possibility of him playing both sides and then not wanting to put the wear and tear. Donovan Ezaraku with the Cowboys. Been playing really well at the edge rush position. Supposedly based on the training camp reports. Obviously, I don't think we need to go into it with the Michael Parsons shit just because it's silly and I'm not here to play the song and dance like they want to do. But if there is a possibility that he is not playing week 1, or even with, we saw obviously some of the people that were hold-ins and stuff like that last year got off to slow starts. He's going to be a big piece of it, obviously replacing DeMarcus Lawrence. And then on top of the guy they brought in last year as well, Nealon. So I'm interested to see how he was obviously in the groups with the Mike Greens and JPJ, uh, uh, JTT as well, and the guys that kind of went back half of the first in the second round. So I'm very interested to see how he does, because there was a lot of people that were interested or a lot of people that thought that he could possibly go first.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very interested to see how he does in his first preseason as well. But I'm excited. We're right there. Like we're right there. Obviously, we started doing. This is the first week that we've had joint practices as well. So the Cowboys and Rams practice against each other. The Colts and Ravens practice against each other. Like Cass mentioned, the Falcons and Titans we got next week. So I mean, we're really getting into the nitty gritty here. I'm very excited here, but our top tens, we're getting down to the last two positions. Obviously, we all know the most important position will be the last one, and we'll get into that next week. But last skill position, we obviously talked about running backs and receivers. Getting to our top tens for tight ends, got a lot of talent in the tight end position. Obviously, 2 tight ends went early in the draft this year. Had a third that went early in the second round as well. So had a rookie last year who was arguably the best tight end in the league. So could get a little interesting here. So who you guys got in your top tens? And go ahead and get us kicked off, Chris.
All right. So honorable mention is Warren, who the Colts did pick up. Again, I just don't want to put nothing on the rookies, being in the top 10 or whatever. But I think he's going to be great for you guys. So I wouldn't be shocked if he stands out this year. So that's a little nugget. But first I got up David Njoku. He's a stalwart for the Browns. As far as the offense go, I mean they're usually a run first team, but Chubb isn't there anymore. So I think David Njoku will pick up a lot of their slack, and he's actually a pretty good tight end. He's very, I guess, quiet in the sense of most people don't watch the fucking Browns or whatever, but he's actually a very good player for them. So I expect him to do good this year. Next, I got Mark Andrews. I would have had Isaiah Likely had it not been for his foot injury. I think he would have took off this year and firmly grasped being tight end 1, and Mark Andrews kind of faded out a little bit. But just because of that, I think obviously Lamar he trusts Mark. I mean, he had some issues this past playoffs, but I don't think that's going to affect his play in general this year. He's going to have to pick it up. Like I just said, Isaiah's going to be out the first couple of games, but I think he's still going to have a good year this year. I think he's going to turn the corner of what happened to him in the playoffs last year. That's not like him, whatnot. So I think he's going to do good this year. Next I got my boy Dallas Goedert. We almost let him walk away from us, but we was able to keep him. He's very, very dominant tight end. It's just that he's injured a lot. He's very injured every year. You count on him getting injured, but when he's there, our offense actually clicks a lot. I mean, I understand we do have AJ Brown, obviously Saquon and whatnot, but he does more than just the dynamic pass catching. He's actually one of the best run blockers in the league. But I think this year is going to be a big year for him, because he only got 1 year left, and I know he's looking for another contract. So I think he's going to produce for us this year. Next I got Dawson Kincaid. It was kind of a down year for him last year. But he's still a dominant tight end. I mean, lately the tight ends that have been coming out of the draft, they've been great. So he's one of them good young tight ends. I expect him to be dominant this year. I think he will be one of Josh Allen's favorite targets this year. So I expect him pick up the slack where it needed for that offense. Next, I got Kelsey. He's getting up there in age, but you kind of can't like not have him on his. I mean, Shy probably got that nigga out the league at this point, but but yeah, I still got him on the list. I understand, he's getting up there in age. He's not as dominant or as dominating as he once was, but I mean, for that Chiefs offense, he's still an intricate part of the offense. You got a receiver Worthy who's coming back, but this is only his second year, so we'll see how that work out. And then obviously, we don't know how long Rice is gonna be suspended, so they're gonna need some kind of production from the pass catcher. I understand Hollywood Brown, but I mean it's just so much unknown with that, especially with him missing the whole entire last year. Not sure how he gonna look for real in that offense, but we already know how Kelsey and Mahomes, they do have that connection regardless of how old he is. They somehow still make that connection work, so I expect him to still be very productive tight end this year. Next I got Sam Laporta. I feel like he's one of the unsung heroes for that Detroit offense. I feel like he kind of gets overshadowed in a sense with all the other weapons that they do have, but that man's a dominant tight end for that team. And I expect nothing less than what he has been doing the previous year. So I expect him to keep it up and pick it up another notch. And then my top 3, Trey McBride. That's one of the things where it's like, again, he's in a market where most people probably ain't fucking watching their games like that. But I mean, he's a dominant player. He has stepped it up a notch the past few years, and again, outside obviously you do got Marvin Harrison Jr., but I mean he's gonna be a good asset for them in general. And then obviously the top 2, you got Brock and Kittle. I mean, that fucking year he had last year, Brock. I mean, we all seen him in college. We all knew he was probably be one of the fewer people that you could tell like, okay, it's gonna clearly translate when he gets in NFL, and it fucking did. Like, I mean, he just fucking dominated last year. Being basically the Raiders' best player in general. So I expect the same thing this year. And again, Kittle, I think he's tight end 1. He's dominant. He's a blocker. He's a dynamic pass catcher. Not a whole lot need to be said with him. So that's my top 10.
Okay. Solid top 10. Like I said, it's a lot of good tight ends in the league, and I mentioned the three young guys that got drafted this year pretty early, but we already saw Mason Taylor got hurt and be out for a few weeks, so it kind of hinders his progression this season too. So that's going to be a big piece. Mentioning Justin Fields and what he does, I think Mason Taylor's going to be a big piece for them too. So we'll see if he can sneak in at the end of the year as well. But what you got, Cass?
That's a good call out right there for sure. All right, I'll go about on the top like you did, Chris. First couple out. I also had likely off my list. I think Marcus, and I'll get into that earlier in the thing, but I think Marcus still the guy. So I got him off my list. I also got Kincaid off my list, but I want Kincaid to prove me wrong. I've drafted him in my fantasy leagues, and he's disappointed me almost as much as Kyle has. He's coming up on that third year of just straight disappointment. So hopefully Kincaid can get it right. But at 10, I got Jake Ferguson, of course, coming off the new extension. A lot has been. We talked about actually when we talked about receivers about how George Pickens kind of opens it up for CD. I think he also opens it up for Jake Ferguson. Again, you get Dak back healthy, which is huge for Jake. I think he's one of the most underrated tight ends in the league. Not a lot of people talk, even though he is on the Cowboys, not a lot of people talk about him as being, top half of the league at least in tight ends. But he's definitely skilled enough. At 9, I got David Njoku. I think that's mainly just been a quarterback problem. I know last year it was injuries, but also quarterback problem. So we'll see if that kind of gets fixed. We'll see who comes out on top there. If it's Joe Flacco throughout the season, if Shador, Dylan, Kenny, who we'll see. But he is still a steady force for that offense.
Deshaun Watson.
Hey.
I mean, he traveled with them today to the preseason game. He's on QB the pup list, so
yeah.
I mean, It's still a possibility.
That's fact. That's fact.
But yeah, next I got Tyler Warren. I had to put him on here, Chris. I think it's more of just everything I'm hearing about the intentionality of getting him the ball. And of course, we've seen it back when he was in Penn State, like getting creative with it. I've seen, lining him up in the backfield, just all over the place. So I think that's going to be a big focal point of our offense. This is one of the pieces of that offense passing game this season. So I'm expecting a big year for him. I don't think it'll be like Brock Bowers level, but I think he's definitely talented enough to have that kind of impact, especially over the guy that was picked over him in Colston Loveland. I think that would also end up being a quarterback problem. But also you have, target shares at a tight end position with Cole Kmet there as well. But next I have Mark Andrews. It's bad ending of the season, but he still ended up having a great season. He started off a little slow, but ended up having his career year in in touchdowns. And I don't think that's a fluke at all. I think he's still one of these guys, one of these especially big targets in the red zone. He knows how to get open. He knows how to catch contested balls. So I still have to have Mark Andrews on there. I got Dallas Goedert as well. Chris. Of course, we've seen his impact kind of shine, throughout the injuries, when he's available. You always go back to, the game where he had, 150, 140 some yards the last season. So he has that in him. If he's getting the target share, we'll see from Hurts, but I think he's still a dog. I got TJ Hawkinson on my list. Another year removed, from the injury, getting back into it. We'll see kind of, again, quarterback situation with a lot of these tight ends. But we'll see kind of how J.J. McCarthy is. But I think TJ Hawkinson, and it's been reported that they have a good relationship going so far in training camp. But I think he's still one of the more talented, overall tight ends in the league that can do everything. So on top four, I do have George Kittle. Of course, getting older, but still, like, but still,
4 is tough. 4 is tough.
4 is tough. 4 is tough. But still, the supreme tight end. When you think about the ultimate tight end in the league that can do everything, of course, we talked about it a lot in the past couple of seasons with him blocking, running the whole route tree, being that guy for Brock Purdy. Got to have George Kittle there. But I do have Sam Laporta over him. I'm just expecting more of a jump from Sam Laporta. We'll see if it actually happens that way, but I'm just, I'm expecting somebody to jump, and I had to get the other two in there at top for Trey McBride and Brock Bowers. But I got Trey McBride at 2. Like you said, Chris, just like nobody talks about him. Probably not a lot of people watch Cardinals games, but he is without a doubt one of the best tight ends in the league. Has been. Of course, the problem with him, or I don't say problem, but the lack of touchdowns have been an issue. Of course, they were very intentional about getting him a touchdown. It got to that point, last season where they were like just hammering it, like, we're going to get you a touch. We're going to get you touches, as many touches as we can in the end zone. But I think he's still that guy. And then Brock Bowers, I think he came in killing the league. I remember back in, 2021 when we were in Colorado, when y'all came to Colorado, we were watching the game, and I'm like, who's this who is 19? Like, on Jordan, who is like
he's a random
dog.
ass number.
Yeah, like, who is he? He's
dominating.
I mean, he could have came out as a freshman, and they were already talking about him being a top tight end in the league as a freshman,
which is wild.
He was been destined for it.
Well, he's destined for it, and he did exactly what everybody, pretty much thought he would do in this league. And that was just his first year. So I gotta have Brock up there at number 1. He has quarterback in Geno Smith that will get him the ball. I'm sure he will. Of course, even last year, like juggling between Minshew and Ritter and O'Connell Aiden. He still produced. So with Geno this season, I think he's about to do crazy numbers. I'm not gonna lie. So I gotta have Brock Bowers number 1.
Yeah, he was like the weapon that at tight end still was able to obviously in his draft classes as tough as that offensive draft class was, especially at the top of the draft, for him to still go where he went. I mean, that tells you a lot about him. But I also obviously had Brock Bowers on my list. I think he's one of the top 2 tight ends in the league. Obviously, dominant rookie season. I think he had the best I would say I'll stick with top two because I do think one of the things that we're not mentioning, and Chris mentioned it with Dallas Goedert, but George Kittle is such an asset as a blocker. He's like by far, in my opinion, clearly the best tight end. Like he makes the 49ers offense go with his ability to block as well as obviously his ability to catch passes.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, with them having as many receiver injuries that they have right now, I think he's going to be leaned heavily on. So that's why I couldn't have a guy like Trey McBride, as good as he is as a receiver, tight end. You got to have that blocking ability. So, Trey McBride, I do have on my list though. And Chris, you said I was going to have Travis Kelce out the league. Casting put him on honorable mention.
I can't.
But with that being said, Travis Kelce is not on my list. So I do have Trey McBride. Obviously, I think he as good of a receiving tight end as you can have in the league. As you guys mentioned, he is a dog. Once he like kind of figured it out, I mean, he's basically taken off from there. And then another year with Kyler fully healthy, I think will do wonders for them. And then obviously, like you mentioned, Marvin Harrison Jr. Having another guy there, kind of completing the 1-2 punch between the two of them. I actually had Tucker Kraft on my list from the Green Bay Packers. I think he is a baby George Kittle in terms of his ability to block as well as be a pass catcher. He did have some injuries last season, so we'll see if he'd be able to stay healthy. But the Packers have a bevy of receiving options, and there's some guys gonna have to shake loose, definitely in the receiving room. Obviously, they've got a lot of guys that have been good, not necessarily great. And then with Christian Watson, his injury history, and then obviously drafting a receiver in the first round this year. But I do think Tucker Kraft is gonna have a big season. I also had Dallas Goedert on my list. Once again, even with the injuries, obviously, like Chris mentioned, one of the best run blocking tight ends in the league. And then the physicality, Cass mentioned the big games he had. I mean, I think
I'm thinking about that
stiff arm is the lasting
crazy
image that a lot of people have. To get stiff arm like 6 times in a single run is a little nuts. But I also had Mark Andrews on my list. I do think that people are a bit premature in terms of Likely versus Mark Andrews. Mark, because Likely be having he's good, but he also be having these plays where you be like, God damn, this nigga nasty. Like, bro, what you got going on? But I think that Mark Andrews having another year. I mean, he's clearly Lamar's favorite target and go-to. As you guys mentioned, having the way his season ended, the way that it did, and I will get a little bit into that when we do our season previews, because I think there's a root of the problem there, and I'm sure you guys, if you think a little hard on it, you can probably figure it out. But I think that Mark Andrews will have a bounce back and have another big season, and as you mentioned, Cass having a career year in touchdowns. With DeAndre Hopkins coming over there, hopefully this fully completes their receiving room like they've been trying to work on since Lamar's been there. But if Bateman was good last year, he took another step. Obviously, Zay Flowers was good. Obviously, Likely took another step. So I think that with all of the receiving options, along with Derrick Henry, and it sounds like Keaton Mitchell's, some people have said he's been the best player in camp. So it sounds like he might be getting right another year removed from his injury. So the Ravens might be another high-powered offense there. I do also have TJ Hawkinson on my list. Like you mentioned, another year removed from his injury, having to be a blanket, especially with Jordan Addison missing the first couple games. He's gonna, just like I mentioned earlier, with those guys that have missing those couple games coming into the season, not at the same time, or coming into the season with the hold in stuff like that. We have been seeing people start a little slow. So I could see Jordan Addison kind of even missing the first 3 games coming in the 4th game of the season. You still do, even though you've been practicing, you still have to kind of get into the game. And I think that TJ Hawkinson will be big in helping fill that void. And then in the last two, I have the young guys. I do have both Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren. I do think that Tyler Warren clearly sounds like he's been everything that the Colts have been looking for at the tight end position. And I think that regardless if it's Anthony or Daniel Jones or Riley Leonard, whoever the fuck plays quarterback, I think that they will be intentionally, like Cass mentioned, intentionally trying to get him involved, not only in, the pass game, but screen game, using him as fullback on the goal line. They will do a lot of different things. And I do think that if he doesn't, once again, similar to the Packers, the Colts have a lot of receiving options, especially if A.D. Mitchell takes a step that I don't know if he has a big season in terms of like 1,000 yards, 1,100 yards, but I could see him being like a 600-yard guy with 10 touchdowns easily. And maybe 10 touchdowns receiving and like 2 touchdowns like on some silly shovel shit or running it in, whatever the case may be. And I do think Colston Loveland, some crazy. And I do think Colston Loveland, for them to have taken him where they took him, obviously in the top 10. You mentioned, actually, I didn't mention Sam Laporta, but Sam Laporta is also on my list. But Ben Johnson, obviously coming over from the Detroit Lions, and Sam Laporta being such a big option for him. And he had a couple injuries last year, so his numbers weren't as great as his rookie year, but he was still as good of a player as he was in referring to Sam Laporta. I think that they would look to replicate some of that with Colston Loveland as well. Cole Kmet did get nicked in practice, and I think he probably is kind of feeling like, well, there's a little bit of a writing on the wall for him when you take a tight end top 10 in the draft. I mean, it kind of is what it is. But I'm not so sure that I think Cole Kmet would be a part of the offense. I'm not so sure that he's going to be so involved in the offense that it's going to take away from Colston being as good as he is. And I think similar to what Chris mentioned with Campbell earlier, him having the ability to already be in camp when we knew that he had some off-season injuries, I think that's going to be huge for them as well. I don't know if Caleb is going to be good, but I don't think that it necessarily matters in terms of his receiving ability. Because, these guys still put up numbers. Talking about Brock Bowers having a season that he had with Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. So, the numbers get put up. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins, we've seen over the years his early years when he had a roulette of quarterbacks. So, they still get their stats. We've seen same thing with you guys having David Njoku over the past couple seasons. He's had like 10 quarterbacks, and that's really when he's kind of taken off with Joe Flacco towards the end of the season 2 years ago. So I think that he can still get his numbers even if Caleb isn't what everybody thought he was, and he might need to be on hot seat watch just right along with his the guy that he replaced, Justin Fields, because there's been that's and I said it last week, like you like some people say don't read too much into training camp, but it's so hard not to, especially when you like it. I understand, like sometimes, like a few years ago, Kenny Pickett in the Steelers offense, what did they score like every drive that they were on the field in the preseason? And obviously that was not they couldn't even bring like 300 yards passing like that season. But then you also have a guy like Anthony Richardson, where last year the Bengals, who of all defenses was sitting there making fun of him or whatever, and then how his season went. So it's kind of like you don't want to read too much into it, but it's hard not to, because when you look at the end of the season, there's signs, and signs could have been in preseason, in training camp, and stuff like that. And right now, Caleb.
And it don't help that you the number 1 overall pick. Everybody saying you supposed to be him. You had a subpar, I guess, rookie season. You get a coach that everybody praises and love for the offensive things he can do, and then he don't really sound that good when he's talking about you, and it's like,
And
tough.
It maybe Caleb needs the same thing that Bryce had, the same thing that Anthony had, because even though Anthony got injured again towards the end of the season, he did improve. He did have some of his best games as a pro. obviously Bryce Young took off and went on a run towards the end of the season, especially the last couple of weeks, culminating in a 5-touchdown overtime win to end the season. Maybe that happens with Caleb as well, because it's not like Tyson Bagent is his butt. Like, we've seen that he can do some things. So maybe that's in the cards for him to kind of, I don't want to say humble himself, just because I don't necessarily think that he's just some like cocky asshole that just, thinks he's a shit, but like maybe just needs a little bit of a humbling where, you came in as a freshman to biggest game in Oklahoma, biggest game in the Oklahoma season, and you create a comeback, and that just kind of kicked off your legend, where you leave there, you go win a Heisman Trophy with USC. You, for multiple years, people were saying you were going to be the number one guy. Maybe he just needs a little bit of like a, let's get you centered back. Like Nick said on his podcast we were just listening to before, break him down a little bit to build him back up. We'll see if that is a reality. But I'm excited. Like, he's another guy I'm excited to see how he does in the preseason. Can he obviously, one of the issues that people talked about was his ability to play in structure. Based on training camp,
it still is.
Some of the clips, it still might be an issue. But if he can get that out of him, maybe he becomes the guy. But I mean, we talked about it a couple years ago when we were doing when we were talking about Bryce Young and CJ and Anthony before the draft, and I mentioned how everybody was talking about how small Bryce was. Like, Caleb's the same size.
Caleb's small.
He's thick.
Caleb's small, yeah.
He's thicker, but he's the same size. And I felt like that was something that everybody was harping on when it came to Bryce Young, but like nobody mentioned when it came to Caleb. And it's not like they were basically the same player in college. Like, Bryce Young was a Heisman Trophy winner for a better program. You could honestly argue he was even better. He was competing for national championships. He was really carrying. I mean, we see how butt Alabama was last year. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep saying that. Like, Alabama was not good, and obviously Nick Saban's a part of that. But, like, Jalen Milroe is a good player. I'm not saying he's great or anything like that, but it was a drastic difference. So I feel like nobody's tossed about Caleb's size like they.
He's like barely 6 feet. It's just because he's like I don't know.
I think people just thought he's a little bit thicker. He's getting out of the pocket.
That weight changes.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's too light.
I mean, that matters, but still, I know that height though.
But does it matter? Because Jaden Daniels, everybody was saying he was, and I was one of them that was saying, they hit his ass one time, and he got hit a couple times. And
he got hurt too.
He did.
He got hit a couple times, and I mean, he took it. Bryce Young, I mean, it's not like Bryce Young has been knocked out of games because of his size.
Yeah.
So obviously Drew Brees historically, Kyler hasn't necessarily been like. I mean, he had a knee injury.
Not because of his size,
because of his size. But Kyler's a big fucking dude.
But you kind of see that around the league, because even though it's not a quarterback, they say the same shit about Devontae Smith, and he be getting knocked. He be getting hit, boy.
Smitty be getting laid out. Smitty be getting laid out, boy.
But I mean, it's not. I mean, we see it a lot with just kind of their transition over the past few years, whereas like we've got a lot of guys that are a little light in the tail, like receivers, quarterbacks, whatever the case may be. I mean, if you're a tough player, you're a tough player. I think at the end of the day. Right. So
I seen Devontae Adams was on the pivot talking about Travis Hunter. Of course, that's been a lot of his. The pushback against Travis is his size. Is he big enough to handle all this? And I mean, you can ask that question, sure, but at the same time,
he's still 6'2".
He just underweight. He just don't gotta. He just not. Yeah, he lean. He just lean his head.
Yeah.
Hey, a year or two in the league, they might.
I don't know.
I ain't saying he gonna be huge.
With the dude,
I'm just saying he gonna get a little muscle.
Saying I don't think they need to mess with that man at all. The way he, moving, the way he moving, and some of the clips I done seen. I'll tell y'all, Travis might be a problem. Like,
no,
he might be a problem for real.
I believe it.
He might be for you to be on a team with a guy that people, I'm not saying everybody has him in the top 10, but so a lot of people are looking at him as possibly being a top 10 receiver. And everybody at camp is like, nah, this other nigga. Like, that's that's same thing like with T. Higgins. Like, T. Higgins had a really good rookie season, went for 1,000 yards. As soon as Jamar got there, everybody like, oh no, niggas was like, oh, we don't know who's gonna be the number one. As soon as Jamar had his first practice, they like, T, like, you got it. Here you go, bro. Like, what you need me to do? How I fill in? So, I think Travis might be a problem, but I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited. We're getting closer and closer. We're 24 hours away from the first game. So we'll see how it gets kicked off. We got a quarterback battles this week. Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. Obviously, Shador getting, like Chris mentioned, getting his shot with the Browns. So that's a bit exciting as well. We'll see how the Giants with Russ and all of that kind of goes. If they're, I mean, I feel like there hasn't really been conversation, and we talked about it before about that really being a competition. But when you draft a guy in the first round, and then we also got the Spencer Rattler and
hey man, that shit say Spencer Rattler or Jay Hayner or Tyler Shutt. I'm like, damn, Saints, what the fuck are y'all doing?
That's nasty.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Or shit is silly. Somebody said it on Twitter. It's like, don't be a coward. Just go ahead and just put one. Just put one.
Bro, that or shit.
Don't do that or shit.
That or shit is crazy. So. It be big as hell too.
Or like, when did niggas start doing that shit? Like, why? What we talk about here, bro? Like, just pick one, and then the other
one of them is clearly above the other one for now.
For now, like, if it changes, it changes. If it changes, it changes. So like, just do it. But that gives us a wrap for another episode. We're not gonna mention Chris bullshit ass team and making trades and shit like that because it's all cap. But the Eagles. Fuck the Eagles. That's how we're ending the show. Fuck the Eagles. Fuck their front office. Fuck all of them. Fuck the Raiders for making dumbass trades.
Bruh, they needed a trade. They released Christian Wilkins.
Bro, that's not who you.
I don't hear. I don't hear.
A team that's struggling in the secondary don't trade your best young player.
That's crazy. We will be back next week with a top 10 quarterbacks, which should get interesting. And then in the coming weeks, we got our previews into the season. We are officially on week 2 of the NFL preseason. Obviously, getting another week closer to the NFL regular season. Got quite the stir, I guess, for a preseason in week 1. Obviously, with Shedeur Sanders drawing all the headlines and people wanting to see what he does, but. Obviously, we also got to see the debut of Cam Ward, Tyler Shaw, Jackson Dart, and some of the rookies, as well as obviously all of the rookie quarterbacks. I know last week we talked about guys we were kind of looking forward to in the entire preseason, but after the first week, was there anybody that you guys saw that either made you kind of want to see what they do more, or you were a little bit disappointed in kind of how things went for them?
Let me see. So, I mean, this might be a tough thing to say, but I gotta say Kyler Murray. Now don't get me wrong. I like the fact that like for like organizations like the Cardinals, even the Chiefs, being able to play your actual starters, even off the first preseason game, you love to see that. At least get your feet wet and whatnot. But it's just something about what's going on over there. I'm just not sold what Kyler Murray got going on. I kind of want to see just a tad bit more from him. So that's one of the interesting for me as far as that just pure like veteran presence in general. Like he's obviously been in league for a little bit, and for the Cardinals to be successful this year, which they have an opportunity to be, he's going to have to show up. So that's one of my takeaways.
I like that one too. Bad pick on that first drive because I'm pretty sure the plan wasn't for him to play as long as he did, but because of how that first drive went, they were like, okay, you got to run that shit back. They were able to get a field goal after that, but yeah, I'm with you on Kyler for sure. For me, it's Travis Hunter, and he knows this as much as I'm saying this. Of course, he wasn't impressed or satisfied with his performance in that first preseason game. He had a play where he ran shorter than the stick. I don't know if that was a play design or whatever, but it's a third down and you were like a yard in front of the sticks. You don't pick the first down up, and of course, what happened that everybody's talking about is the little stiff arm, whatever dive at the ankles that happened when he was on the defense, getting a defensive rep. Just want to see more from him. You're going to be this number 2, but I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all. But at the same time, you got to produce in these situations, especially in the preseason, if you're going to go out there and play. So just a little bit more from Travis Hunter, but he said it himself that he should have been way better than what he was. So.
Yeah, and I was happy to see that he played because I know that was something that we talked about last week, that if he was even going to play, that was a good sign just to see him out there. And obviously people were making fun of Trevor Lawrence throwing the one hospital ball that he did, and obviously not to Travis, but Travion Henderson for me, obviously the biggest play probably of the week 1 of the preseason. First play of the game, he takes it a kickback for a touchdown. I just think that that's kind of been his calling card is not only having the ability to hit his head on the goalpost from anywhere, but also being a strong pass blocker, also being what people would say a mature rookie. I think that based on, obviously the start to that game and some of the things that I'm reading from the Patriots training camp, it sounds like, in something that I've been talking about for a few years, it sounds like the Patriots actually have a few weapons, especially maybe not, in terms of having the high end, because they still have to, Stephon Diggs is coming off an injury. Kyle Williams has to show he's a rookie. Demario Douglas, obviously the 2 rookies that they drafted last year, but at the receiver position. But, it sounds like they do have some depth at the very least, which is not something that they've had over the past few years. So I am interested to see, kind of what he does moving forward. I do think that he could possibly be the best out of the Ohio State running backs that got drafted this past year. And obviously we got some, I don't know if it's maybe good news for the Browns, maybe good news for him. I don't really know the situation, so I don't want to, say it's good news, but I guess got some news from both him and Isaiah Bond today, him being Quinshon Judkins, having an opportunity to get into training camp. I'm both probably going to be with the Browns. I know that it's been reported that Isaiah Bond is going with the Browns, but I think he said that they haven't completed the deal just yet. So, I guess good news for them on their fronts, whatever they had going on in the legal aspect. But it's time to kind of get into the exciting portion of the day. Obviously we've been doing our top 10s over the past few weeks. And we're coming to the conclusion of it with the most important position on the field, being the quarterbacks. So it could possibly be a lot of movement. Obviously we had a rookie that went to freaking the NFC Championship last year. We had a guy go to back-to-back Super Bowls that there's been a lot of controversy. I mean, not back-to-back, but 2 out of 3 years. And there's been a lot of controversy whether he's a top 10 quarterback or not, coming off of a Super Bowl MVP. So very interesting conversations that's been going on, obviously in the mainstream media world, but we'll get into it today. So Chris, why don't you go ahead and give us a start and who you got in your top 10 quarterbacks?
All right. So for my top 10, we're going from 10 to 1. I got Jordan Love. My biggest thing about Jordan Love is he has to stay healthy. As you know, he just got injured. Luckily, it's his non-throwing hand. But I think you spoke about this earlier in our group shot. Matthew Golden is it's probably one of the sneakier picks of that first round that most people haven't been talking about as much. And I think but I think he will. I think he's going to step up this year as a rookie, and that's going to give him probably a true number 1 in my opinion. And if he can stay healthy, I believe Jordan Love can be one of those top quarterbacks this year. I got Jaden Daniels. I can't ignore what he did his rookie year. Now, although I do think some of that shit was capped as far as the winning because it was the end game, situation, and it very well a lot of those things could go either way. But his ability to be a dual threat is heartbreaking for most opponents.
Scary.
So that shit is dangerous. It's Lamar-esque. Obviously, it's not Lamar. Nobody can really be Lamar, but his ability to get out of situations and being able to use his feet to make plays, that's going to propel him and that'll make him dangerous. Hopefully for him, he can get his number one receiver back. But he still got Debo, so I mean he's still a relatively good receiver. So can't deny that there. Next, I got Baker Mayfield. I mean, he's one of those quarterbacks that I feel like, he was the number one overall pick, but ever since obviously he left the Browns, he went to a couple of different teams, and now he landed on Tampa Bay. I just feel like he's in the background, but I mean, he still make plays. He still got a rocket of an arm. And Tampa Bay's going to go as far as he take him. So I think he's still a good quarterback. I still think he's going to be good this year. This next one, this is last year. This is last year on my top 10. I ain't gonna hold you. And this is Justin Herbert. Hey man, fuck all that
Hot
shit
seat, huh?
we
Hot seat
talking
watch?
about. Yes, cause you have the talent. You have the quarterback arm talent, all that extra shit. But I mean the performance per the last two playoffs wasn't good. I mean he does well in the regular season. I understand, and he got a good coach over there. And he's getting some weapons. So this, you gotta show me something this year. But I think he will, though. I don't think he's ass or anything like that. But I just think he gets to get by on some bullshit that whatever. But
what they call an All-American,
huh? Next, I got Jared Goff. I understand that performance playoffs this past. It was a little erratic, but he's still a good quarterback, man. They got good weapons over there. They were a dominant team last year throughout the whole regular season. So I can't deny any of that. I just feel like, so I mean, the playoffs last year that was just a poor performance. But I mean, again, the year before, they were just there. They were right on the cusp of making it a Super Bowl. So I still think even though they lost their offensive coordinator, I still think that offense is still dynamic, dangerous, and as long as Jared Goff, running like they normally run, I think they'll be all right. And then getting to my top five, I gotta have my boy Jalen Hurts in there, man. He 5 for me. It's just the aspect of winning and the leadership he shows. He might not obviously throw for a million fucking yards, but I mean we got a fucking team around him, and it's easy to step in there and lose games. It's easy to be able to do that. You could say everybody would like to say, he got the best weapons. I don't think every quarterback in the league can step into that role and take them to where they took them last year. So I got Jalen Hurts. Next, I got Joe Burrow. I mean, it's cool, Joe. I mean, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That offense was obviously good last year. Defense was ass. So, I mean, that is that his fault? I mean,
what Tom Brady say it is.
I'm about to say certain quarterbacks say, "Hey, you ain't defensive game planning with them. You ain't doing enough." But I mean, we're gonna see this year. He talked a big game this offseason. He was able to get his receiver signed. So, hey, it's time to put up. He did make it to the Super Bowl before. Obviously, they didn't win it, but you already know what position you're in that conference. Hell, in that division. So you it's put up or shut up. Next, I got Pat Mahomes, man. He's still a top quarterback. You can't argue that. But these past few seasons, we all have seen he has not been playing as we all seen him play before. And if you say otherwise, you're lying to yourself. He has not been playing that well. Last year it almost like the Commander season where a lot of their games could have definitely went the other fucking way. And so, did he get exposed in the Super Bowl? Probably not. I mean, they had a bad offensive line play in general. But as far as his play, he's still Patrick Mahomes. You can still consider him one of the greatest quarterback ever. But as far as the last few years, his play has tailed off, in my opinion. So that's that. And then the next two, interchangeable for most, but I gotta go Allen and Lamar, man. 2-time MVP Lamar. Josh Allen just won the MVP. Both of them are spectacular in their own way, in their own role. It's just obviously that's what makes Patrick Mahomes great, because they can't, for whatever reason, beat him. Not saying it's all him. It's, other shit that done happen in the playoffs between the two. But, they're always going to be there at the end. They're always going to be a problem for any team to play against those two quarterbacks. You can't deny that at all. But I still go give Lamar the edge. I mean, like I said about Jay today and Lamar S, but Lamar, that's a different story. When he actually want to run, he can outrun pretty much everybody. If he actually wants to do that, he can pass, he can do it all. And it's just, for him in general, is amazing. As far as the story, when he came out of college, obviously everybody trolling, want to tell him to play other positions. He getting drafted in it, but he, ever since he came into the league, he's been ascending every year. So I gotta get a top spot on Lamar.
Okay. I like
solid list.
Solid list. Look, as much as we talked about beforehand, a lot of similarities with our list, Chris. Honestly, you got one omission that, but I'll get to it.
I hope it ain't that. I hope it ain't who I think it is.
Bad Matt. All right, so I'll start. I'll go 10.
Hell no,
I'll go 10-1 as well. Build suspense. At 10, I got Jared Goff. Like you said, Chris, he the pioneer. No, I don't want to say the pioneer, but he's the head of that prolific offense that we've seen the last year. Of course, when he got his bad play in kind of bunches, like when he has a bad game, he really has a bad game. But it's only been a couple here and there. I am expecting him to still, we'll see how he meshes with the new offense coordinator, how it all goes. But I'm still expecting the offense to be one of the tops in the league, and he's a big part of that. At 9, I also got Jaden Daniels, Chris. Like you said, the dual threat ability is just undeniable in ways. We just saw it every single game last season. As much as you want to hate it, it's well, damn. And then you see how your own team kind of just acts different when he's at the helm. To have that effect on people, especially in your first season, and then make it to like Shaw mentioned earlier, make it to the NFC Championship game. That's huge. Now, will he keep it up? We'll see. You never really know how it goes. Sophomore slump, all that other stuff they want to call out. But I know if like a couple years ago, CJ Stroud was on everybody's top 10, and not so much this year. So we'll see after what happened last season. So we'll kind of see how it all goes out. At 8, I also have Baker Mayfield. Look, dog. You know what I mean? And kind of like how you feel about Jaden Daniels is how I feel about Baker. Like, I want to hate so bad because he's on the Bucks, and with me being a Falcons fan, but like he makes that team go in ways you can't even understand. What he was able to do without having Mike Evans in there for 4 weeks, without having Chris Godwin for the last half of the season, and still able to produce at a high level, still get his team to the playoffs. He's not much needs to be said about Baker, honestly. Like, he should be on everybody's, in my opinion, he should be on everybody's top 10. And he has the numbers to back it up as well, the stats. At 7, I also have Herbert. Like, I'm a little bit more optimistic than you are, I think, about it. But like you said, the talent is there. The talent is undeniable. He did get some more weapons in there, so we'll see kind of how Trey Harris comes along. He's been throwing it to KLS, they call him, or Dre, or whatever you want to call him. And we'll see how those two rookies help him out. We'll see if QJ can get right. But he does have weapons, for the most part. They got a new running back in there, fresh leg. So we'll kind of see how it all shakes out for Justin Herbert. But I do want him to throw the ball a little bit more than he did last year, to like keep this high of a number on the spot. I mean, I understand that he was protecting the ball and doing it until you got to the playoffs, of course. Protecting the ball and running the offense, but the talent is still there. And how much he gets talked up even by his head coach, put the ball in his hands. Let him see, let him do it more in the regular season. So when it comes to the playoffs, when you have to do it, it ain't like, result in like 3-4 picks. At 6, I have Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP, coming off a damn good season. A lot of people, have been, talking like you say, Chris, about the team around him, how it's boosting him up. But we've seen the ups and downs of Jalen Hurts, and we saw that the season before last, and what he did last season, how he was able to, and of course Saquon Barkley is the big, big change and all that, but he was still able to get AJ Brown the ball. He's still able to get Smitty when he wasn't hurt. Goddard, had a few, games here and there. He's able to distribute the ball around, and it wasn't a lot of great receiving weapons. I mean, even the last 2 seasons there, you got the ghost of Julio. Y'all had to make a trade in season last season.
Ghost of Julio.
So to get another a third receiver in there, so he has great weapons, but he hasn't had the depth of weapons that most other quarterbacks do have. So I think he still deserves to be in the top. But at 5, I got Matthew Stafford. I can't.
Bad Matt.
I can't quit him. I can't quit him. I will always be a Matt Stafford fan. Just what he's able to do with that offense, like everybody gushes about the arm angles, the arm strength. But to do it year in and year out, the games that he had on display last season, even at his advanced age, he's still able to have an impact on games. And when the ball's in his hands, it's not much you need to worry about, in my opinion. So that's why I have him in the top 5, and the same reason kind of with these top 4 as well. At 4, I have Joe Burrow, just like you, Chris. Amazing season last season, but at the same time, I just think going into this next season, he will probably be the 4th quarterback, out of these top 4. No shade to him. I like Joe. I'm a big Joe Burrow fan, of course. But I don't see necessarily that happening again. How that offense kind of ran last season. We'll see if I'm wrong, but it was just, we'll see if I'm wrong. But at 3, I have MVP Josh Allen. Good season, but I don't necessarily, and we talked about it, of course, on this podcast, he wasn't necessarily the MVP I would have necessarily chose. I would have went with Lamar, but Josh got him one. Congratulations to him. And of course, we see it on Hard Knocks that's on now, and how much he means to that fan base, how much he means to that team, that GM, the owner. He has a huge impact on Buffalo, and he will continue being the tops of this list. But at the same time, you do got to get him over that hump, Josh, and same for Lamar, who I have at 2. Look, this season that Lamar had 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, his best season, and didn't win MVP. So it's well, how much can he do? I mean, he impacts the game, and you talked about it, Chris, so many ways. It's honestly ridiculous. But I can't have Pat not be number 1. I just think his overall impact, knowledge of the game, control of the game, control of that offense, has to have him on top of my list. He spoke a lot about how last season was an anomaly for him. He talked about that recently, and I think he will bounce back strong. I think that offense will bounce back strong and put up some good numbers this season. So I'm expecting a big year from Pat.
Yeah, and I mentioned Junkins and Isaiah Bond, but didn't mention Rashee Rice. Also got some news today that his decision will be delayed, so he'll probably play the first few games, which is funny that they're doing it the way that they're doing
weird.
it. But
it's a little weird.
If he does end up maybe playing the whole season, maybe they give him his ruling mid-season, but maybe delay it till next season. We'll see. But yeah, I'll go ahead and get into my top 10 as well. And I'll do, for the first time, I will rank them. So starting with 10, I'm going with Jaden Daniels. It was tough putting him on, and obviously some of that is priors, because I did say that I thought he was probably be the quarterback most likely, or one of the quarterbacks most likely to bust out. But he proved me wrong and very quickly. But at the same time, he is still, after one season, we got to see it a couple times, as well as the fact that, like you mentioned, Chris, some of the wins that they did have, Hail Mary, beating the backups for the Eagles in the last minute, beating basically some of the backups of the Cowboys last minute. There's some things that beating Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals basically in the last minute. So we'll see, how that team, we talked about it before. The team was a little bit older, and they don't necessarily have like a bevy of guys that are just young, up and coming players. So we'll kind of see how the team progresses, because typically those teams don't necessarily get better with straight veterans. But we shall see. At 9, I have Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to argue with anybody if they want to have him in the top 5, obviously going to the Super Bowl. But we also have eyes. We also saw the first 2 games of the playoffs. We also saw his playoffs outside of the Super Bowl games that he's had, and the NFC Championship as well. For as good, he's a good player, not a great player. He's very steady. Obviously, he has his limitations, but that's not unlike most players outside of that and Lamar, basically. Josh Allen, I'll put Josh Allen in there as well. But he has an opportunity to build on this season. We'll see if he's able to go back to back, or even get them back into keep them in the NFC Championship picture. Obviously, they've been, for the past 3 years, a really good team. So at 8, I also have Baker Mayfield. Kind of like you guys mentioned, Baker got hurt, and he's kind of had like a stigma about him, and the stigma about him, I feel like, is kind of maybe even in these rankings, kind of hurting him a little bit, because not only has Baker been, he had his little stint with the towards the end of his Browns, where he wasn't that good. Then with the Rams, he had that first game where he came in like 2 days before they had a Thursday night, and he made some noise. But aside from that, that whole team was hurt. He wasn't necessarily great either. Then with the Bucs, he kind of started off slow, but then he's picked up. One thing that we don't mention about Baker is he's also a really good playoff performer. And that's something that probably, he probably hasn't been given enough credit, because aside from his stint with the Bucs, he obviously wasn't just going to the playoffs with the Browns this year after year. And then after they did go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, he obviously got hurt. But I do think Baker, has an opportunity. And with the Bucs, they draft so well that they still have an opportunity for a guy that took over for Tom Brady to still be successful, still make the playoffs. We'll kind of see what their season looks like this year. But I got Baker at 8. At 7, I also have, not also, but I have Jordan Love on my list. Kind of like Chris mentioned, with Matthew Golden, him being possibly a true number 1. I also think that their receivers are kind of hurt right now. Obviously, Dobbs is out. Christian Watson is still out. Jaden Reed as well. But I think that they might have a true number 1 now, but also they have depth, which they've kind of had, over the past couple of years. But Tucker Kraft, a guy I mentioned last week with the tight ends, another weapon for him. It sounds like Marshawn Lloyd, their backup or their running back that they drafted last year in the second round, sounds like he's coming around a little bit. So they have 2 running backs that they can rely on. I think that the Packers, obviously have been good since Matt LaFleur has been there. I think that will continue, and I think Jordan Love will take another step. At 6, I've got I'm at 6. Yeah, 6. I've got Justin Herbert. We gotta stop capping about Justin Herbert, guys. We gotta stop capping about Justin Herbert. He had a bad playoff game. His first playoff game was not bad. They were up 30-0, and in the second half, he had 4 possessions. It went punt, field goal, miss field goal, punt. We got to stop capping about Justin Herbert.
He couldn't score a touchdown. My bad.
They were up 30-0, and he gave them 2 opportunities.
What happened when you up 28-3?
Hey man,
I ain't even trying to.
But we have never.
We know
never
you
been like
scoring.
Matt Ryan, but we never said it was Matt Ryan. We've never said it was Matt Ryan.
he got a little bit of blame there. He got a little bit of blame.
He had a little bit of blame. That doesn't say that I never said that Justin Herbert doesn't have some blame. But you get a field. You're up 30-0. You get a field goal. It was a short field goal miss as well. It wasn't some 50-yard field goal miss. It was like a 30-yard field goal miss. So we're not doing that. We gotta stop capping about Justin Herbert.
Hey, that's your boy.
We gotta stop capping about Justin Herbert. We gotta stop it.
He in
had
my
a
top
bad.
10.
But you talk about. But hold on.
You got him at 6. I had him at 7.
No. You said this gonna be this is his last straw. Like
For
he's
me.
just okay. And it's been a lot of conversation.
It's
been a lot of conversation, not specifically y'all, but it's been a lot of conversation just in the media around where people are like, "Oh, Justin Herbert is he hasn't done it. He hasn't performed in any big game." Like, all right, bro. Like, let's calm down now. If any other quarterback was up 30-0, we we wouldn't be sitting here being like, "Oh, it was the quarterback." When we also acknowledge we thought Brandon Staley stinks. We also acknowledge that QJ can't catch. We'll see what the running back position looks like last year, but their running back situation, even though they were running the ball a lot, I mean, J.K. Dobbins was hurt. It wasn't the best last year, so I mean, like let's relax. He did have a great defense, so don't get me wrong. But like outside of Ladd, and then they're trying to bring the corpse of you want to talk about the ghost of Julio Jones, the ghost of Keenan Allen coming back to the Chargers too. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying. So at 5, and this is kind of a high spot, but I mean, just the consistency and kind of how people have doubted him. I had to have Jared Goff, so I do not have Matthew Stafford on my list as well. Jared Goff has, obviously engineered one of the best offenses last year. And even in the game, he got knocked out, could have possibly had a concussion in that playoff game. Who knows? But he did not play his best, but they were still able to put up points. And I think that, I'm not saying that they're going to win a Super Bowl or anything like that, but I do think that he will continue to keep them in contention. And I also think that people think the loss of Ben Johnson is going to be a little bit more. I think that having both coordinators as well as, offensive staff and defensive staff members may hurt.
And a center.
And a center more than just purely Ben Johnson. But I still think that they will be pretty good. And then, the top 4, we all know who it is. I think Joe Burrow, I got him at 4. I don't think you can – I understand that his season was prolific last year, and I understand that it's not all on him. And I understand that, he was. People want to say that he throws the ball the best. He probably does have the best anticipation of the big 4, and that obviously has a lot more to do with. Well, not obviously has a lot more to do. Some of that has to do with the fact that the other three can all run, whereas Joe Burrow is mobile, but he's not a runner. So, I'm going with Joe Burrow there. He's got to get in the playoffs. He's got to be able to stay healthy. Lamar got killed for multiple years for missing a few games, whereas Joe Burrow, I mean, people have obviously talked about it, but they haven't necessarily criticized him the way that they criticized Lamar or even Josh Allen when he still played. But, people talked about how he's hurt himself being reckless or whatever the case may be. At 3, I also have Josh Allen. He got the charity MVP last year. But, it's not to say that he wasn't necessarily deserving. His season was not better than Lamar's. I think, just about you can't have him second all-pro and then be like, he's MVP. It's like giving Marc Gasol Defensive Player of the Year when he's second team all-defense. Like, okay, you thought 5 people were better than him. What are we doing here? But anyway, obviously Josh Allen had a great season last year. He did he did beat Lamar in the playoffs. That came down to the drop 2-point conversion. But he did have his opportunity as well to beat Pat Mahomes, and he came up short again on 4th down. So Josh Allen, Lamar both had to break through, like you mentioned, Cass. So I also have Lamar at 2. As Chris mentioned, Pat, I don't want to say that Pat Mahomes, his play has necessarily taken a step back. It's a little hard because in terms of his numbers, it's definitely taken a step back. But when you go to 3 straight Super Bowls, he's making plays when it's needed to be at the end of the day. And so, much like, if you want to have like Jalen Hurts in the top 5, you have him in the top 5 because some of the things that he does, he doesn't always do consistently. But when you need him, for the most part, aside from that Rams game, for the most part, he's coming through, and doing what he's doing. So I also have Pat Mahomes as my one. If Lamar or Josh Allen were to beat him, even if they don't necessarily win a Super Bowl,
Yeah.
I'm with you. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm with you, but I'm with you. But until you slay the dragon, I mean, I can't give that. Even though I want to, even though I think Lamar is, y'all know how I feel about Lamar.
Yeah, we know.
But Pat is the guy until he's not. Until you knock the king off, and it's for them. That's all they. I mean, that's all people are going to talk about next year. It's not going to be about them going if they go 14 and whatever, and or 12 and whatever, or 10 and whatever. If they obviously they'll get killed if they miss the playoffs. But if they don't do what they're supposed to do and beat Pat Mahomes, I don't even think people care about them playing well at this point. Like, it's just straight. You can throw 3 interceptions, and if y'all beat the Chiefs, people are going to be like, "Oh my God!" Like they did it. They're great.
That's what it is. You could be a wild card team if Josh or Lamar, if they get in as a wild card team, but still beat Pat
Mahomes,
still
and lose in the AFC
you know what I mean?
Championship.
That's still that'll get them more. That's how it is.
It was still tough, the list in general, because like I said, none of it. Well, Cass had Matt Stafford, but 2 people didn't have Matt Stafford in it. Part of the reason I didn't have Matt Stafford is because he did not have that great of a season last year. Even though he had a strong ending to the Eagles game, but before it snowed, it was it was tough sledding.
I do think that getting Devontae Adams in there will unlock a different part, because like Cooper Kupp, first off, he was injured a lot. So you don't know.
And Puka was injured too last year.
And Puka was injured. So getting Devontae Adams in there, if Matt Stafford is able to get that back right, which is up in the air.
And that is why I don't have him.
It's up. I mean, that's fair. That's
back injury is.
A back injury at 37 is bad. It is. That's just what it is. It's bad.
Good. That's the only reason why I got pause on that.
He is also getting older. Yeah. So that could also possibly led a part of the injury, in part with the injuries, that could also have led to kind of not as great of a season as he had last year. But
Tay Adams still hey.
We'll see. I mean,
not if Jimmy throwing them hospital balls.
That's
might get killed.
But I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, we still got the young guys could possibly take a step. Obviously, Chris made a joke about Caleb Williams. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Brock Purdy, I think. I mean, we talked about it a little bit in terms of their schedule. I wanted to put him in, but the injuries with the receivers is like, I don't know what that's going to look like. I really, obviously I didn't have Christian McCaffrey in my top running back. So I don't, I wasn't confident with that. So I don't know what that's going to look like, even though they're saying that he's hitting all these numbers and these milestones, but we'll see.
I wanted to put Dak in.
Dak?
I did want to put Dak in there, but I mean, and I think he should have a really good season with those.
If you would have asked me pre-training camp, Dak would have been in my top 10. But not anything necessarily to do with Dak, but just how everything is gone, with the Michael Parsons situation. Obviously, one of his linemen getting hurt as well.
I was just about to say, not to mention he got some lineman injuries.
I still think that they can have a big season, especially offensively. But the closer and closer we're getting, I'm like, we're for one of the reasons I really like the Cowboys coming into training camp was because they were kind of less noisy. On top of the moves that they made in the offseason, I thought they had a really good draft. And then on top, they were just kind of like, aside from the Michael Parsons stuff that we all, I think at the beginning of the preseason, when they entered training camp, I came on here and said, I think it's done. Like, it's going to get done. And now it's like, all right, y'all doing a little too much. Now we heard trade rumor today. We got our first official trade rumor in team. So
let's see.
I'm a little
see how that kind of shit.
What Jerry said, he under contract.
I mean, they need to figure this shit out, man. It can't be every season thing. And then I'll add one more in there. Don't sleep on Geno. Don't sleep on the Geno Smith. All right, that.
Geno was another one I wanted to have in there, but the more I think about it, it's going to be tough sledding for them to be a good team. And we'll get into it a little bit in the
previews,
the previews, but I don't want to spoil too much. But I just think in that division, it's gonna be a little tough. It's gonna be because I mean I feel like you already got to split. You at least got to split all of them. Now,
you ain't gonna say nothing about Bo,
man. Okay. I see it now.
All right, y'all. That gets a wrap. This is a wrap for the Speak Up Sports Podcast. We'll catch y'all next week when we get into our previews as we get into the last week of the NFL preseason. We'll start off at the home of the Super Bowl champions and start on the NFC side. We'll get into the AFC side the week following during the off week, and then we'll be into the regular season.
Yes, sir.
So we'll catch y'all then.